And I know I could tell you anything. You won't judge, you just listen in. 'Cause you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. 'Cause my darling, you and I could take over the world, one step at a time, just you and I. And you're the only one who brings light just like the sun, one step at a time, just you and I.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. Welcome back to Morning Coffee with your host, Rick Alexander. Intro music is always provided by Brittany Taylor, and she is Barbell Brittany on Instagram, and I am at Lionheart Radio and at Rick Alexander _ If you're digging the show, please let me know. All right, this week I've talked about some, well, not depressing topics, but certainly just about things going wrong. I've talked about like relationship issues and all this different stuff. So today I wanted to talk about like maybe how things might be able to go a little bit more right. You know, one of the emails I get a lot on this show, or probably for this show, are people saying nothing's really wrong and nothing is really right. And I talk about that a lot because I think a lot of us, well, it's sort of that Thoreau quote of most men lead lives of quiet desperation. And I think that's actually probably the case. I think that there's a pretty big gap that exists for most people between the life that they're living and the life that they want to live or would choose to live if they could. And I just wanted to draw attention to the point that that gap exists because there's no clarity around what you are doing. So all of the success habits in the world, all of the achievements, all of the professional development and self-help advice, all of the podcasts and the books and everything else that we have today means nothing. All of the habits mean nothing if you do not have clarity around who you want to be in the world. And so if you're going to spend any time doing anything, it should be figuring that thing out. And so I wanted to introduce a couple ideas today on how you might get some clarity around figuring out who it is and what you want. I'm working on a course right now, so I've kind of been formulating all of the notes that I have around how to cultivate passion in life and how to kind of find your thing. And it's a course I've been working on for a really long time because, like I said, I think a lot of people, they don't know what their thing is. They just know that what they're doing now isn't currently the thing. And so I think one of the things I alluded to in the Hold the Standards episode was to maybe figure out what is it that makes you mad. What injustice is going underserved right now? What is it that makes you want to do something about it? That's a good place to start. The other good place to start is curiosity. What do you wonder about? What are the things that you want to know about in life? Perhaps one of the most beneficial exercises that I've actually ever done was to write down 100 questions about things that I am curious about. The reason being is because if you take a step back and then you look at all of these questions, and it's actually a more difficult thought experiment than you might think. You could probably come up with 20 or 30 questions, but coming up with 100 genuine questions about things that you are curious about or that you want to know the answer to is actually really difficult. And there's no rules. They can be questions such as, wonder how fast I could run a mile in. Or it could be something like really big and abstract, like is love a real thing that exists in the metaphysical world, or is it a physiological response that we have to another human? Doesn't really matter. Just for reference, not that was one of mine. So cultivating curiosity is another way to start figuring out. You can start looking at all of the questions that you have, and then you can start building trends off that. And you'd be like, well, maybe I'm actually more interested in these things than I thought, clearly, because you want to know the answer to them. So that's another thought experiment that's worth thinking about. And then, another way, because a lot of times we don't know necessarily what it is that we want to do for a job or what we want to do next or take on for a project. But one of the things to do is to take a moment and really spend time thinking about your ideal lifestyle. And then within that ideal lifestyle, there's a exercise called the perfect day exercise. And I think it's really beneficial. I'm surprised that more people haven't done it. But the essential idea behind the exercise is that you will go through your entire day from the second you wake up, what time is it, what do you eat, what are you doing at every moment of the day, all the way from start to end, that would make that the most perfect day you could possibly have. See, because then if you know what your perfect day looks like hopefully your Friday is your perfect day today, then you can start plugging careers and passions and hobbies into that formula. So if you know what you want your life to look like, it's a lot easier to plug other things into that, because then a career doesn't necessarily have to be a career. It could be a means to an end. It could be getting you to that perfect day, because if you can string perfect days together, you're going to be ahead of 90% of people. And so you want to think about your ideal lifestyle. And then the last thing to think about is your ideal self. When you look in the mirror, you know the person that you want looking back at you. That was another thing I brought up in the standards episode. Well, what are you going to have to do in order to make sure that the person that's looking back at you is exactly who you want them to be? How are you going to have to eat? What is your movement practice going to look like? Do you need to spend more time in the sun? Are you spending a lot of time in the cubicle or in a bar? Do you need more vitamin D in your life to make sure that your ideal self is looking back at you in the mirror? It might be. Maybe you need to unplug more. Maybe you need more clarity. See, once you figure out all of the things that you're curious about and what your ideal lifestyle is, and then what your ideal self-image is, now you have a real roadmap to begin working toward. And so remember, it doesn't matter how badly you want success if you don't know what success looks like. And so you need to figure that out for your life and for yourself and for your family and for everybody that is going to be affected by your time here on this earth. Because then once you get some real clarity around those things, now you have, like I said, a map and a framework from which you can start plugging other things into. One of the other things it's going to tell you is where you might need external structure. There's an old piece of wisdom that says where maturity and capability fails, add external structure. For example, if you are drinking and you can't quit drinking, then maybe AA would be an external structure that you would want to have so that you can make sure that you're living your ideal life. And so maybe once you figure out your ideal self and your ideal lifestyle and the things that you're curious about, now you can figure out what structures make sense to add into your life to make you a more productive, better version of the person that you are. I did that exact same exercise and I realized, holy shit, I need to block out my entire day by hour blocks on my calendar so that I know exactly what I'm doing, so that I'm capable of doing all of the things in a single day that I actually want to be able to do. And sometimes we have this idea in Western culture in 2018 that we have to be self-made. I've talked about it on the show before, but I wrote an entire chapter in Burn Your Couch called Be Self-Made, and then I deleted the bitch because I realized that message didn't resonate with me, because nobody is self-made. It takes a network. There's no shame in adding external structure to get you to be the person that you want to be in the world. And so if this is your Friday and you're living for tomorrow and for the day after that because the 5 preceding days sucked, then maybe it's time to start figuring out your ideal self-image, your ideal lifestyle. You need to start getting clarity around the things that you want in this life so that you can begin working toward them in a meaningful way. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you Monday. Morning Coffee.
I've been trying to find this vibe for a long time. Always seeming like it's coming on its own time. But it feels so good, ain't gonna lie. My ride or die feels so good, ain't gonna lie. Now that last goodbye, all the way up and you can't take this. Cause it's feeling so real that you can't fake this. But it feels so good, ain't gonna lie. My ride or die feels so good, ain't gonna lie. Now that last goodbye, we ain't never gonna quit. We ain't never gonna quit it, boy. Nah, we ain't never gonna quit. Nah, we ain't never gonna quit it. Always trying to try me. The temperature be rising. I could've sworn that you'd be sidekick. 1-800. You push my buttons, I I'm like Tyson. Been years since I felt like this. So blessed. Gonna ask if you can stay. For the rest, I'm alive cause I need you. Real joy in my life, yeah, I need you. Just be you. We ain't never gonna quit. We ain't never gonna quit it, boy. Nah, we ain't never gonna quit. Nah, we ain't never gonna quit it. Every day's a gift, just take it as it comes. Embrace it through the mist, weather, rain or sun. Every day is a gift, you got air up in your lungs. Be grateful, rain or sun. Every day's a gift, just take it as it comes. Embrace it through the mist, weather, rain or sun. Every day's a gift, you got air up in your lungs. Grateful rain or sun.